since we have a few minutes left, recent question that got a few upvotes. What is your view on how, or maybe if, contraceptives violate children's rights?
People, I'm not a Catholic. You gotta talk with Catholics. So I would say from a scriptural perspective, I don't see anything explicit about contraception in Scripture. If you guys want to go with the sin of Onan, I think that was a lot more about violating the Levirate law, right? He was trying to withhold children from a woman so he didn't have to share his stuff with her or a kid. Okay, so to me that's not a contraception passage. So then you have to make an argument based on natural law, right? Which I know you Catholics feel very strongly about. For them before us says adults, the sperm is not a person, the egg is not a person. I don't think that there is a scriptural problem with non-coital emissions. I don't know what to talk about.
Let me just say that I'm just laughing because just today I had a conversation with some of my favorite friends. My very vigorously, decidedly Protestant friends who quote Calvin on Onan and think that this was always the right thing. It has always been wrong. And that
what's always been wrong?
Contraception and the leading reformers. So they were very adamant that it had nothing to do with Catholicism. It had to do with both authentic reading of Scripture and also in terms of natural law, which you've already pointed to. It's not something that is peculiarly or exclusively Catholic. We might talk about it more, but I would say that the term natural law sometimes is used, and sometimes about ordinary grace in Protestantism, but it is not actually
common grace.
Perhaps that's another way, but it is not something that is. This is not a matter of peculiar papal claims. It is something that once I think largely united the Christian world. And the 20th century brings about this idea that Catholics have large families, and Protestants contracept and have their 2 or 3 kids. Anyway, I am disagreeing with you on this, in part because it really isn't. I don't think that the considerations that lead to it are peculiarly Roman Catholic or even sort of Nicene Creed. There's a lot of Reformed Christians who reach some other conclusions.
And I will say that the problem is thinking about the child as a commodity, or the child that exists for the adult instead of the adults existing for the child, right? And so if the mindset is, I decide when and where and how, and if the child isn't when and where and how I want it to be, that's a problem, right? If that's the mentality that contraception is leading you to, that's a problem, right? And that's why there's kind of abortion is kind of the ultimate commodification of children, right? It's the one that says, if a child is unwanted, I can violate its right to life and force it out of existence. Reproductive technologies is kind of the side of the coin that says if a child is very wanted, then I can force them into existence, even if it means violating their right to a mother or father, and often violating a right to life because there's a lot of selective reduction and a lot of disposable embryos that happen, in the reproductive world. So it's that mindset of the child exists for me, right? And I think that sometimes contraception can play into that kind of mindset.
With the advent of viable gene editing, how do designer babies, ranging from preventing serious defects to producing desired trivial traits, affect children and children's rights in the world?
Yeah, you might know more about this than I do, but yes, that is happening. And it's actually already happening, maybe not editing their genes, but you can go to most fertility websites and you can look at a catalog of sperm donors and a catalog of egg donors, and you get to decide. Do you want a Lebanese donor? Do you want them to be 6'2" or 6'8"? Do you want one with a master's degree or somebody that's a musician? I mean, you shop for the gamut. You select the one you want. Eugenics, sex selection, embryo transfer, that's very common, right? For people to create. I have an article coming out hopefully soon on embryo adoption, which is very complicated. but it talks about what to do with surplus embryos, because there's about 1 million. Well, there's about 1 million embryos on ice right now. Many of them are surplus or leftovers because they were created thinking, we got to create all, we can't do this a bunch of different times, let's just create 10 right now. We'll implant 2, okay, we didn't get a kid that time, now we'll plant another 2. Oh, twins, woo, we're done. Okay, now we've got 6 on ice, right? And so there's always those, okay, we've got 6 on ice, we have 10 on ice. What do you think? Should we do 1 boy, 1 girl? Oh wait, you know what? These, I don't really like the genetic markers on those. Let's discard these, right? So there already is a lot of commercialization, eugenics, gamete selection taking place right now in the fertility industry, even without editing genes, right? Even without, which is, I mean, a whole nother bag of children's rights violations. There was a Chinese scientist that supposedly successfully edited out the genes that led to HIV development, and so these babies, these twins, were born alive, supposedly immune to HIV, but we don't know what other health effects. What else did he turn off in that gene that the kids are going to need at some point, right? How many other kids were not born alive that he had to use as a trial run before he got to the babies who were born alive? So the ethics conversations are about 25 years behind the experimentation at this point. So in essence, if you're making babies in a lab, there's a really good chance that you're violating a whole heck of a lot of children's rights.
I think for the purposes of people who saw the 7 to 8:30, we see at 8:35, we should depart now. I'm happy to stay here, and perhaps others we can have a few extra minutes here. But thank you all very much for coming.